This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Thursday, January 26th, 2023. I'm Alex Brown. Researchers at the IU School of Medicine are making concerted efforts to provide more access to the healing power of music. Dr. Sherry Robb says part of the work is to find ways to relieve the distress of young cancer patients, but also their parents, which she says can build up like a pressure cooker.
You feel this pressure building up in your body because you're so concerned about how is my child doing? Are they going to be okay? And then they begin to play and they get a glimpse of that normal little 4-year-old doing what 4-year-olds do, smiling and laughing. And that pressure cooker release goes off and it releases some steam.
IUPUI says it's projected to grow its music therapy efforts by about 15% over the next decade. Fort Wayne-based Sweetwater says it recorded pivotal growth and reached significant milestones in 2022 despite economic challenges. The online retailer of music instruments and audio gear said Thursday it reached 9.5% year-over-year revenue growth with $1.5 billion in sales. The company says that marks the third consecutive year it has broken the $1 billion mark. Sweetwater partially credits its new used gear market, Gear Exchange, and its new distribution center in suburban Phoenix for the increased growth. Michigan City-based Horizon Bancorp is reporting full-year net income of $93.4 million compared to $87 million the previous year. Despite what he calls strong growth, CEO Craig Dwight said the bank is feeling the effects of the housing market downturn. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Has your company grown at a rapid pace over the last 2 years? Nominations are now being accepted for Fast 25, IBJ's exclusive list of fastest growing companies in central Indiana. Honorees will be spotlighted in a special publication in the IBJ and celebrated at an event on May 9th. Check out the changes to this year's criteria to see if your company qualifies. Learn more and submit your nomination by March 1st at ibj.com/nominations.
In today's business environment, every company is a tech company. Interested in learning more about emerging technology trends that can make an impact on your strategy in 2023? Join us February 15th for IBJ's Technology Power Breakfast to hear from top tech entrepreneurs, investors, and up-and-comers. Our panelists will dive into key issues and trends that will inspire fresh ideas. RSVP or reserve a corporate table for 10 by February 9th at ibj.com/events.
An Indiana Senate panel voted Wednesday to advance a bill that would prohibit non-compete agreements between physicians and their employers. IIB's Wes Mills has more.
The bill was heavily supported by physicians and medical consumer groups who said non-compete agreements hurt doctors and their patients, reduce access to medical care, and interfere with the free flow of labor. On the other side, hospitals and business groups opposed the bill, saying non-compete agreements are needed to help protect trade secrets and to provide a return on the money and time needed to attract and train doctors. It's the latest in a series of bills meant to address the high cost of healthcare in Indiana, as well as the physician shortage and patients' rights. Republican Senator Justin Bush of Fort Wayne, the bill's author, said the measure would ease some of the pressures on Indiana's healthcare system. He said 78 of the state's 92 counties have a shortage of doctors. Dana Stutzman, a health law attorney at Hall Renter who represents the Indiana Hospital Association, said banning non-compete agreements could destabilize the healthcare system in Indiana. Hospitals in smaller communities, including critical access hospitals, often spend money to attract doctors and could lose physicians to employers that can pay more under a non-compete ban. The bill will now be considered by the full Senate. Wes Mills, Inside Indiana Business Radio.
A subsidiary of Fishers-based Land Betterment Corporation has acquired an ownership stake in 2 greenhouse operations in Canada. The deal includes 50% ownership interests in JC Fresh Farms and Orangeline Farms. The 2 operations are anchored by dozens of acres of controlled environment growing facilities in Ontario. While financial terms were not disclosed, Betterment Harvest calls the deal a strategic acquisition that will expand its footprint. The city of South Bend is looking to assist companies who want to hire highly skilled international employees. The city this week launched the High Skill Immigration Fund, which will help offset expenses to sponsor H-1B visas for eligible workers. Caleb Bauer, executive director of community investment for the city, said employers take on a level of risk in sponsoring an H-1 visa applicant because the number of visas awarded annually are finite.
What that can look like is an employer might have a candidate that is eligible for an H-1B visa, meets all the requirements, but ultimately doesn't get selected in the H-1B lottery. If the employer sponsored that candidate's visa application, they may have paid somewhere in the ballpark of $6,000 to $8,000 in processing and legal fees to support that candidate's application. And then if it's not selected in the lottery, the business can be out those funds.
H-1B visas are given to workers in specialty occupations that require highly specialized knowledge and at least a bachelor's degree or its equivalent, according to the U.S. Department of Labor. The city of Gary is putting together a plan to address housing insecurity. Lakeshore Public Radio's Michael Gallenberger reports.
The 2022 point-in-time count found 272 people experiencing homelessness, while almost a third of Gary residents are below the federal poverty level, according to Census Bureau data. Now, the city's gotten almost $2.5 million through the federal Home ARP program, which is funded with COVID-19 relief money. Julie Silas with planning consultant Homebase says the city is looking to allocate $1 million of that to boost affordable rental housing options and another $650,000 toward the cost of a new low-barrier shelter.
Anyone could use the shelter. It's free of conditions for entry or participation, and that the rules are for staff or resident safety.
The draft plan also provides $360,000 for support services like case management, childcare, food access, and transportation. For Lakeshore News, I'm Michael Gallenberger.
Sports media personality Dan Dockage returns for this week's Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, and entertainment, and beyond. Available now from your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.